My girlfriend thought I'd propose in Barcelona. She laughed about it behind my back, said I was boring, called me her backup plan, and bragged about using me for rent. My name is Charles Dietrich. I'm 34, live in Minneapolis, and I'm a senior software engineer who thought I had everything figured out. My career was stable, my apartment was cozy, and my heart? I belonged to Amelia, a woman I thought was my future. She was 31, bright-eyed, magnetic, and worked in marketing for an environmental nonprofit. We met 3 years ago at a local urban garden initiative. Yeah, one of those wholesome things companies send you to for PR. She led a workshop on sustainable outreach. I was there to plant basil and eat donuts. We hit it off instantly. It wasn't love at first sight, but it was like finding a song you'd unknowingly had on repeat in your heart. Our shared values, our quiet sarcasm, our absolute obsession with vintage jazz vinyl. We felt aligned. Within 6 months, Amelia moved into my apartment. The financial setup? Simple. I earned more, significantly more, so I covered rent and utilities. She handled groceries and car expenses and was in charge of building an emergency fund for us. That was the deal. Felt fair. I never once saw myself as being taken advantage of. If anything, I was proud to help her focus on a mission-driven job, even if it didn't pay much. I even started putting money aside for a ring. We were planning a trip to Barcelona. I'd scoped out the perfect cliffside view for a proposal. I was all in, until I wasn't. The unraveling started with one forgotten mute button. It was a Wednesday morning. I was in my office, coding with my noise-canceling headphones when I realized I needed to ask Amelia something about my parents' upcoming dinner. I pulled off the headphones, stood up, and heard her voice from the living room. She was on a Zoom call with her team. Well, it had been a Zoom call. Seemed like they were on a break. Her voice was casual, lowered, laughing. So, yeah, he said Barcelona might be extra special. God, I hope he doesn't propose. How do you even turn down a man who pays your rent? My blood went cold. Another voice, Jenna, her coworker, whom I'd met once, chuckled. Just marry him and divorce later. Half his stuff and a clean break. They laughed. Loudly. Unapologetically. I know, right? But seriously, Amelia continued. I'm not locking myself down with Charles. He's nice, sure, but God, he's boring. Like, I swear the man is beige. Beige. That word echoed in my skull like a siren. But those beige walls pay my bills, she added. Another year tops. I'll have enough saved to move on. I just need to avoid the damn ring. Jenna giggled. You're awful. He has no clue. I just nod when he talks about family or the future and keep squirreling away my savings. That was when her voice changed back to professional. Oh, hey Marcus, welcome back. I'll have those campaign drafts ready by the end of the day. I was frozen, still in the hallway. I had heard every word. I closed my office door, sat down, and felt my entire foundation shift beneath me. For hours, I sat in my office staring at my monitor. Not working, not thinking, just stunned. I replayed her voice over and over again. Not just the words, but the tone. That breezy, cruel indifference. The fake laugh. The mocking edge. And the worst part? She wasn't even worried about me hearing. That's how deep the deception ran. I wasn't a threat, I was a resource. I didn't confront her right away. Instinctively, I knew rage wasn't the move. I was a man raised on patience, on logic, on sitting with a problem until it could be solved, not exploded. So I did what any engineer does. I built a plan. The first thing I did was call Marco. Marco's been my best friend since we were both freshmen in college, trying to impress the same TA. He's loud where I'm quiet, brash where I'm measured, but loyal like blood. He picked up on the third ring. Charles? Dude, it's 10 a.m. What's going on? I told him. All of it. By the end, he was dead silent. You want me to come over? No, I said. I need time. I'm gonna play along. Just for a bit. Play along? Man, that's not your style. It is now. I started documenting. I checked our finances. Reviewed her contributions. Looked at the bank account she was supposed to be building for our future. There wasn't a cent in it. I ran credit checks. Tracked down transaction history. She'd been funneling money into a separate personal account. One I never even knew existed. The amount? Just under $19,000. That stung. But what hurt worse was the note I found in her Google Drive folder. Titled, Exit Plan. Inside were timelines, job leads in Austin and Portland, rental property bookmarks, and a spreadsheet titled Post-Charles Budget. She had already priced out her life after me. I wanted to scream, but I didn't. I wanted to throw her laptop out the window, but I didn't. Instead, I changed all my passwords, separated my accounts, and set up a camera in the living room. Not for revenge. For truth. I needed to know if she'd admit it to anyone else. If she'd say more. And what do I find next? Made everything crystal clear. 3 nights later, Amelia had her friends over for wine. I told her I was going to Marco's to watch the game. She laughed and kissed my cheek. Have fun, sweetie. That night, the camera picked up everything. Amelia, wine-drunk and loud. Honestly, I'm just counting the weeks. Once my new job is lined up, I'm out. Charles thinks I'm his forever person. Someone, maybe Jenna, asked if she felt guilty. Guilty? Babe, I've earned this. 3 years of pretending to care. That's worth a few rent checks. They laughed. Someone clinked glasses. I couldn't watch it anymore. The next morning, she made eggs like nothing had happened. I watched her smile, hum, pour orange juice, and realized I'd been dating a mask. But masks can be removed. And I was done pretending. There's a point where grief runs out of oxygen and morphs into clarity. By the following weekend, I wasn't sad anymore. I wasn't even angry. I was sharp. Amelia had laid out her exit strategy. I was about to write mine, but mine would have closure. Justice. Maybe even a little spectacle. The next Friday night, I made reservations at Osteria Lucia, her favorite upscale Italian spot. The place with overpriced truffle ravioli and candlelight that made every breakup feel like a movie. She got dressed in the silky forest green number. Told me, you've been so sweet lately. Barcelona's gonna be amazing. I kissed her cheek. Let's make tonight count. Oh, we would. At dinner, she laughed and told stories like nothing was wrong. I played along. Until dessert. Then I pulled out a small velvet box and set it on the table. Her eyes lit up. Is that Charles? Oh my God. I raised a hand. Don't open it yet. She froze, confused. Before you do, I want to read you something. I pulled out my phone, opened a file, and began. Quote, he has no clue. I just nod when he talks about family or the future and keep squirreling away my savings. Sound familiar? Her face drained. Or how about this, Jim? Honestly, I'm just counting the weeks. Once my new job is lined up, I'm out. The box on the table? It didn't hold a ring. It held a flash drive. On it? The Zoom audio, the camera footage, and the exit plan. Everything. You used me, Amelia. For money. Stability. Optics. And all while planning your grand escape. But you got caught. She stammered. Charles, save it. I'm not here for an explanation. I'm here to say goodbye. She glanced around. Other tables were quiet. Watching. She reached for the box. I slid it toward her. Keep it. You'll need it. Especially since I sent a backup to your employer. Jenna too. Just in case either of you plan on spinning your version. She blinked, stunned. You wouldn't. I already did. Then I stood, left cash on the table, and walked out. Marco was parked across the street. He saw me coming and rolled down the window. How'd it go? Oscar-worthy. We drove off. No music. Just relief. Behind me, Amelia was still at the table, mouth open, life unraveling in real time. The fallout came fast. 2 days later, she called me 27 times. Left voicemails, texts, emails. Ranged from rage to sobs to desperate apologies. I didn't respond. She lost her job the same week. The team dynamic didn't appreciate what they heard on that recording. Jenna blocked me on everything. I guess HR wasn't a fan of just marry him and take half. Amelia moved out within days. I wasn't there. Marco supervised while she packed. She didn't say a word to him. She left behind her basil plant and a scarf. I threw them both out. And just like that, the woman I almost proposed to became a ghost. But I wasn't haunted. I was free. The house was too quiet after she left. You'd think silence would bring peace, but at first, it just brought echoes. Echoes of laughter that wasn't real. Conversations that meant nothing. The clink of wine glasses that covered up lies. Every corner of our apartment had a memory, and now every memory felt staged. I threw myself into cleaning. Like deep cleaning. I scrubbed grout. Tossed out mugs she liked. Rearranged furniture. Donated the ridiculous macrame wall hanging she insisted on keeping above the couch. That damn thing mocked me every time I looked at it. By the end of the week, it didn't look like our home anymore. It looked like mine. Marco stopped by often, always bringing snacks like I was in post-surgery recovery. Dude, I brought pie. Healing requires pie. We talked. Laughed. Watched bad sci-fi movies. He never said, I told you so. Just sat with me while I put myself back together. The surprising thing was how quickly my energy changed. The constant anxiety I'd lived with. Wondering where she was. Why she wasn't texting back. Why she was cold for no reason vanished. Like fog lifted off my chest. I started sleeping better. Started waking up before my alarm. Started eating real meals instead of microwave trash. Freedom didn't feel like fireworks. Felt like breathing again. And then came the email. Subject: Barcelona flights. Reminder. I'd forgotten to cancel them. I stared at the itinerary. 2 seats. Sunrise arrival. The hotel was non-refundable. I sat there for a full hour, debating, and then I booked a second ticket. Not for Amelia. For Marco. 2 weeks later, we landed in Spain. It was everything I imagined, but better. No tension. No pretending. Just tapas, rooftops, street guitarists, and one legendary night where Marco convinced a crowd of strangers to sing Bohemian Rhapsody in the metro station. We laughed until we cried. She'd hate this, he said, grinning. That's why it's perfect, I replied. We hiked to the cliffside spot I'd picked out for the proposal. I stood there, hands in my pockets, staring out at the sea. Not sad, just grateful I didn't give her that moment. She didn't deserve it, but I still did. When we got back from Barcelona, the world felt different. Not just because I'd exorcised the ghost of Amelia on a rooftop overlooking the Mediterranean, but because something deep inside me had shifted. It wasn't just healing. I was remembering myself, piece by piece, breath by breath. I stopped trying to fill the space she left behind. Instead, I decided to occupy it myself. I went minimalist, decluttered everything. My wardrobe, my bookmarks, even my contact list. Anyone who knew about Amelia's betrayal and stayed neutral? Gone. I didn't need apathy dressed as diplomacy. I bought a new couch, ditched the beige pillows she picked out that tied the room together, repainted the bedroom. A cool charcoal blue, deep and clean. I even swapped out the dishes, replacing her mismatched indie thrift store finds with a sleek, matte black set. The place didn't look new. It looked honest. Work got better, too. I wasn't constantly checking my phone, wondering why she hadn't texted back, or feeling that phantom tightness in my chest. My team noticed. My manager pulled me aside one day. Whatever's going on with you lately, keep doing it. You're sharper, lighter, because I'd stopped dragging dead weight. Then came Kayla. I met her at a tech mentorship event for under-resourced high schools. She was in the back troubleshooting a fried circuit board and muttering about cheap solder jobs. I handed her a spare component. She handed me a half smile, and we got to work side by side. No flirting, no forced small talk, just competence, flow, ease. She was the kind of woman who wore utility boots with dresses and carried electrical tape in her tote. A little chaotic, a lot brilliant, and immune to pretension. Later, we ended up chatting over lukewarm coffee. She asked what I did. I told her. She said, "So you're a digital architect?" I nodded. "Cool," she said. "I've always liked people who build things." We started seeing more of each other. Casual lunches turned into museum dates. Late-night emails turned into good morning texts. Every interaction felt grounded, like standing on solid pavement after months of quicksand. One night, during a backyard fire pit hangout, she glanced at me and said, "You ever fall for someone who made you feel invisible?" I nodded slowly. "And then they acted like you were the one who disappeared?" I exhaled. "Exactly that." She leaned back. "Then here's to being seen." And we clinked glasses under the stars. Somewhere in the middle of that slow-burning connection, Amelia left me another voicemail. This time, her voice cracked. It wasn't performative, it was quiet. "I know you probably hate me, and maybe you should. But I hope one day when you think about me, it won't be with disgust. I messed up the only real thing I ever had. You didn't deserve that. I'm sorry. Deeply." I listened twice. Then I did something I wasn't sure I'd ever be ready for. I forgave her. Not because she earned it, but because I didn't want to carry her shadow into a future that had room for sunlight. A few days later, Kayla and I went to an old-school jazz bar tucked between a laundromat and a locksmith on the east side. She ordered a whiskey neat. I got a ginger ale. The singer on stage crooned out an old Etta James number while Kayla tapped the table in rhythm. She looked at me, eyes soft but steady. "You feel okay now?" I didn't hesitate. "Yeah, for the first time in years, I do." If part 5 was about recovery, then this chapter, it was about reinvention. Not just living without Amelia, but thriving despite her. I wrote the code of who I thought I had to be. I joined a Saturday woodworking class. It sounds random, I know, but something about chiseling away rough edges to reveal something smooth underneath just made sense. Therapeutic, even. The instructor, Bruce, was a retired high school shop teacher with a voice like gravel and stories about everything from Nam to building his canoe. He'd bark instructions, then wink and say, "But do it your way, kid. That's where the soul is." I made a bench, then a shelf, then a slightly crooked table, but proudly mine. Each nail felt like taking back a piece of myself. Kayla and I kept orbiting each other, slowly, intentionally. One day, she asked to see the infamous cliffside proposal spot from my Barcelona trip. Said she wanted to understand the past before building into the future. So we went. The moment we reached the overlook, she didn't speak right away. She stood next to me, wind in her hair, eyes locked on the horizon. You almost proposed here, she said softly. Yeah. And now? I looked at her. Steady. Present. Real. Now I'm just grateful I didn't. We didn't kiss. We just stood there. It was more intimate than any embrace. The nonprofit that hosted the original robotics mentorship event offered me a board seat. Said they wanted more hands-on tech mentors with empathy and life perspective. I accepted. Every Thursday night, I showed up at a rec center with a toolbox and a laptop. Taught kids how to solder, debug code, and troubleshoot both logic boards and bad days. One kid, Zach, asked why I always wore the same watch. Because it reminds me what time not to waste again, I said. He nodded like that made perfect sense. I even ran into someone who knew Amelia. At a coffee shop of all places. Her old coworker, Lucia, I think. She blinked when she saw me. Charles? Wow. You look great. Thanks. I heard what happened. I'm sorry. Amelia was complicated. I smiled. We all are. Some of us just stop pretending we're not. Lucia tilted her head. She said you were boring. But you seemed different. Maybe I was boring. Or maybe she just never saw me at full capacity. We both laughed. Then I walked out and for the first time didn't feel like I had to look back. At home, Kayla surprised me with a wall-mounted record shelf. I figured if vinyls were your love language, she said you should see them every day. That night, we played Coltrane. Real loud. Danced in the kitchen like two people who didn't have anything left to prove. I never felt more seen. Peace didn't arrive like a movie ending. It came in small moments. Moments like this one. Late afternoon sun slanting through the window, the smell of sawdust from the bench I'd finished sanding, and Kayla upstairs humming while pruning her plants. No background tension. No hidden second lives. Just the quiet hum of real life. That's when I found the letter. No return address. Just my name written in a hand I hadn't seen in over a year. Amelia. I sat at the table for a long time staring at the envelope. Then I opened it. Charles? I'm not writing to ask for forgiveness or anything dramatic. I moved. I'm working in a bookstore in a town where no one knows who I am. I started therapy. I've been trying to understand why I did what I did. I still don't fully know. But I know I hurt you. Deeply. You gave me stability. Love. A real home. And I treated it like a stopover. I hope someone sees you the way I didn't. You weren't beige. I just wasn't ready for steady. Hey. I folded the letter slowly, then tucked it into the bottom drawer of my workbench right next to the toolset my father gave me years ago. I didn't burn it. Didn't toss it. Just let it rest in the past. Because that's where she belonged now. That night, Kayla and I hosted our first real dinner party. Marco brought his infamous ribs and our ments from the robotics program showed up in collared shirts that didn't fit quite right. We grilled, laughed, argued over sci-fi reboots. Midway through the night, someone put on Coltrane and Kayla grabbed my hand. Come on, she said. You can't escape jazz forever. So we danced. Right there in the living room, barefoot, wine-stained, swaying like nobody was watching. Everyone clapped offbeat. The dog barked. It was chaos. It was perfect. Later, when the house was quiet and the lights were low, Kayla curled against me on the couch. You okay? She asked. Yeah, I said. Got a letter from Amelia today. Heavy? Honest. But late? She nodded. Want to talk about it? I paused. I already did. With myself. She kissed my shoulder. That's the best kind. Some people teach you to love. Others teach you resilience. Amelia was the storm. Kayla is calm. And me? I'm the bridge between them, stronger for having cracked. I used to think closure meant understanding why someone hurt you. Now I know it means no longer needing the answer. Because you've outgrown the question. And when you do that, you win. And I think he didn't win by outsmarting Amelia. He won by outgrowing the need to fight her. So now it's your turn. If someone used you, mocked you, and planned their escape while smiling in your face, could you forgive them? Would you rebuild, or would you burn it all down? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hope you enjoyed this story as much as I do. Help this small channel grow by hitting that like button, subscribing, and sharing with your friends. Every bit of support means the world. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.